Today, I'd like to talk about an attitude I had in my early 20s that I think is common to many people. I would like to warn people in their early 20s against it. And for those who have gone through it or are currently there, I'd like to get your thoughts and opinions. So, in my early 20s, whenever people were trying to tell me how I should figure out my life and how I should go about building myself up, it was always by looking intrinsically to myself. That I should look at my motivations, I should look at my interests, and I should move forward in the world developing those things. And by doing so, the world would sort of attract those interests towards me, and that similar people of similar interest would gravitate towards me as well. And I think this is, for the most part, somewhat fine advice. But when you look at the extremes, I think the extremes of that are a bit difficult to deal with. So I would go through my 20s doing this. I would look at my fields of study I was interested in, my hobbies, and I would go about constantly pursuing those and sort of ramming through anything else that didn't involve that. But I think the difficulty there, and that I've realized in the last few years as I've changed my attitude, is that it's very difficult to burn out with a lot of different interests and even just a general fatigue with life whenever you go about doing things like that. And in the last few years, I've started actually flipping that on its head, and now I've started asking myself and moving forward and operating in the world by the things that scare me, by my doubts, by my insecurities. So rather than move forward exclusively towards my interest, I've now changed the way I live to say, what most scares me that I wish I would do? Or where do my doubts lie? What insecurities do I have? And I found this to be a much more profound way of living, primarily because, well, I'm sort of dealing with baggage and dealing with the things that would keep me paralyzed, the things that actually keep me from my interest, from my hobbies, from the people that I want to spend time with. And it's sort of an analogy like this. You could press really hard on the gas all the time, but you could just as well lift off the brake. And by lifting off the brake, you're going to find that you naturally end up going faster, so to speak, towards the things that you want, towards the people you want to be around, towards the person that you want to be around, simply by the fact that you are lessening the resistance of yourself personally and of your own fears and doubts, and it's helping you move forward. And so I found this incredibly beneficial, not just for the sake of professional development or career development as well, but I feel that this is a good way of living that makes you a better person. Because a lot of the things that you end up dealing with when you say, I'm going to operate like this, tend to be internal. They tend to be your own insecurities and a lot of your own faults. And by dealing with those things and moving towards them, it makes you more effective in the world. So I would like to challenge anybody in their early 20s to think about this way of living, perhaps even merging the two together in some way to speak, perhaps balancing them out. And I'd like to ask anybody who's had this kind of shift, if you've had this kind of shift, what was that like for you? What do you think of these thoughts? And I'd love to get feedback. So thank you very much for listening.